Enjoy the show. Don't give us the buzz. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet with us sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show. Oh.
Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Jack Wright, over the course of the next half hour, 40 minutes or so. We're going to be talking football, Premier League, of course, with the midweek slate continuing tonight with a not so small matter of the North London derby. We've got Bundesliga chat as well. Plus, we'll dive into Serie A, one fixture, and also a fixture in the Championship as well. Plus, we're going to be talking tennis. We've got a special guest a little bit later on. As our director of content, Nigel Seeley, is going to pop on. What do you mean? I hope he's not listening. He's going to pop on to talk tennis after the latest action in Melbourne and the Australian Open. Jack, how are you?
Well, I'm hoping he does turn up. If not, we're in real trouble when we come to talking about the tennis. And I'm also glad I didn't wear my black roll neck. We'd have had a kit clash and I had to go off and change, but it was a close call. So other than that, I'm all doing very, very well. Yeah, midweek slate of the Premier League. So decent night last night as far as what we thought was going to happen was concerned. Let's hope that continues with the official plays tonight.
Yeah, exactly. One or two people taking us to task about leans. The thing, but the boys just put out an awful lot of selections. Some are official picks on the Premier League show. Some are leans. It's just the way that we do it. But I've said on the Euro show recently, just bet the lot. That's what I would do, especially when Nigel and Jack are saying, "Look, I'm going to be betting this. It's a lean because of the structure of the show. But if you're going to be betting, you're going to be betting." I mean, I thought you were desperately unlucky with the Brentford game. I know on the face of it, Jack, you think, well, okay, with a last minute equaliser would suggest that City might have won that game. But the thing is, you look at an awful lot of the metrics and Brentford were good value for a draw. And as you said, I think on one of your tweets or one of the comments on the YouTube channel, look, sometimes I might put up the hot dog, but look a little bit further, look at the plus a half, look at some of the Asian lines and look at the Brentford goal lines and so on and so forth. That's sometimes how you got to play it.
Yeah, I was a bit aggressive with that one, wasn't I? I just got a little bit carried away, I suppose. And when Big went for the full beans, it was, I think, about plus 430 when they kicked off, weren't they? There was say, drift on Brentford, and I thought they were really good, really good. Mboma, I thought, was excellent. Links play with Vissa so well, that midfield area, and they said in after the match, like the summary of it, saying that how they just got stronger and stronger, and they could see Man City like needing a breather, and Brentford didn't give it to them. And like I say, a couple of clearances off the line, a couple of chances where they just delayed a split second and with some last-ditch tackles. Yeah, Haaland missed a couple of good chances as well, but it was a real cracking watch. Really enjoyed the game, and as I said, I think in hindsight, if I would have gone on a little bit of a watered-down line there, and they would have cashed a decent price, but I just felt I wanted to go for the big prize really at plus 400. I thought they were well overpriced, and I wanted to try and take advantage of it, and it's one of those things.
Paul Laguna, hello Paul, how are you doing? Good morning. Rick says good morning. Byron says groovy. Duncan, afternoon guys. Disky says welcome all. Ming says good day guys. Byron says if you didn't parlay Bournemouth Forest on the Asian line plus a goal at plus 180, you just aren't paying attention. This is what we're talking about. Player Cam HD. Hi guys, Paul says looking forward to this weekend's hot dog in the soccer. Dave says good morning everyone. I want to find a way to get on Bayern today. I think they score 3 at home. That's an interesting one. I looked at one or two of the stats with Bayern. Yeah, the goal line is pretty high, isn't it, for their game? They're very short against Hoffenheim. We'll look at that later. Ming says, unlucky with Brentford, Jack. Dave, good day, fam. And Jennifer says, hey, guys, just finally on last night's action, Jack, obviously Forest taking a point off Liverpool. They played well first half. Thought Liverpool were excellent in the second half. But the bottom line is Liverpool are minus 360 for the title now, and Forest are 33 to 1. I mean, are Forest live contenders here, or is that price about right?
Yeah, I think it's about right. A couple of injuries. Wood's been exceptional for them this season, and again he links play so well, doesn't he? With what he's got around him, he's just thriving with his confidence at the moment. Look, we've written sides off before that have gone on and carried it through. I think they were. I saw 16 to 1 quote. I think wasn't it at half time while they were leading? So kind of doubled in price due to that goal. But yeah, a tough few weeks coming up. We touched on it, I think, in the show, didn't we? That they've got a few fixtures coming up, so that will be a case if they can get serious amount of points from those, then who knows? But up to second at the moment, that's beyond their wildest dreams. I think they just keep on going and see where it takes them. But I think it's about right. Is the answer to the question that you did ask me? Yeah.
Tres McCurdy says, what time will you be discussing the tennis? Well, Nigel's going to come on in around about 25 minutes, half an hour or so. But stay with us for the football, Tres. Come on. We always put the football or the soccer first and foremost, but Nigel's got some good angles in when it comes to the tennis, I'm sure. Speaking of the tennis, all of the men's and women's singles are streamed live on the BetRivers website and the BetRivers app. There's an awful lot of streaming soccer as well. You can watch the Blackburn Portsmouth game. Jack's got a little bit of an angle in that one for us. Also some Portuguese Cup, some Scottish Premiership. Aberdeen have fallen off a cliff, haven't they? But they take on Rangers at Ibrox tonight. We've got some Belgian Cup and also some Dutch Cup as well, plus 9 Coupe de France fixtures all stream live on the website. We've got 1 or 2 special bets as well when it comes to the Premier League action from our friends at BetRivers as well to talk you through. And there's some significant money flying around for 1 or 2 bets. Now, Jack, obviously we've done the Premier League show this week. We've looked at the Premier League card. This is the slate for tonight in terms of the Wednesday games, Everton, Villa, Newcastle, Wolves, Leicester, Palace, Arsenal, Tottenham. If anybody wants Jack's official plays on tonight's games and Nigel's as well, then revisit the Premier League show. But hopefully, Jack, we can offer our viewers and listeners something a little bit different for the games tonight. I mean, David Moyes, first game in charge at Everton for the second time around against Villa, plus 120. I can't remember what we said on the show for that one, but any further angles in for David Moyes' return? I mean, Goodison Park will be rocking, won't it, tonight?
Oh, it will. Yeah, absolutely. Good news for you, Dan, is that you can, after this show, go and visit the YouTube channel and watch the show again so you can see what we did pick and put forward. But a final point on that, I think I actually mentioned it during this show, didn't I? This week, saying I had probably 4 or 5 1-unit play or official picks that I could have put forward, and it was really tough. It was a hair's breadth really between which ones went official. So those leans, as I say, we do put up, and we do normally say this is so close to being an official play. So we hope people take those on board. And also, you mentioned the YouTube channel there in the comments. We've got like over 120 comments on there at the moment. And it's getting better and better as far as some of the analysis, and people have got obviously certain specialities, haven't they? So not only do we put our show out, you then got the ability to read through all the other comments. And there's been some absolutely stunning bets that have been put in there. So this isn't just kind of rubbish being put in the comments. There's some real value to be had in there. So make sure you have a look through that as well. And a real community that's putting up some decent bets across all these games now. So lots of value to be taken. But back to Goodison Park, and it will be absolutely white hot there tonight. That's a real big atmosphere with David Moyes, the Moyes sire, as he's called, isn't he, on Merseyside, or that part of Merseyside anyway. So tough game for him tonight. Be interesting to see how he goes. There's obviously been a bit of debate. We've been talking about whether there's going to be an awful lot of difference initially with what we see from Everton and what we've seen from Sean Dyche's Everton. So that's going to be a key part of our betting. Are we going to get involved? Are we going to be able to put some similarities together to kind of make the form that we've seen over the last few weeks valid still, or are we going to have to draw a line under it and take a little bit of a stop on Everton until we can get a read on how David Moyes is going to set them up and play?
Arvin's got the cat out of the bag here. We went both teams to score no in that one for the game at Goodison Park. Anything else to add on that one, Jack? You looked at any props in that, or should we move on?
It's a tough one, I think, as I said, for the reasons we've said. The one that probably stood out to me was Morgan Rogers, a player that I do like. We had conversations about him before, just for a shot on target. Someone just asked one. I believe that's plus 107. 3 goals in his last 4 games, 18 shots across his last 8 games as well, 5 on target. He's a little bit of a homer, it seems. He likes to perform better at Villa Park than on the road. But, he's a player that I think can have a bit of joy bursting through the lines there. Cards, I think, might well be a play for those states that can play it. Over 4.5 is the line. And if you want a player, you can't normally go wrong by going Ashley Young for a card. Plus 240, 4 in his last 8. And the referee is Sam Barrett, who averages around about 5 cards per game. So I think a little bit of feist with the atmosphere would be I wouldn't put anyone off going down that route.
All the way up says Villa can't defend. Adam Thompson's also got some good lines in. Says Villa have lost the last 5 away Premier League matches, albeit against stronger sides. Everton come alive at Goodison this time of year. Everton to win under 2.5 goals at 6-1 plus 600 is a big old price. That's a decent little angle in, I think. David says, please can we create a group on social media? Well, Nigel's your man for that. We'll put it to the board meeting next time we bump into Nigel. He will be on the show a little bit later on. Dave Clark says Newcastle moneyline parlay with Bayern team total over 2.5 is plus 115. Duncan says Champions League back next week. Villa might have that on their minds. That is very true. And Ginepi says, what's the best game to watch in the Premier League tonight? Will it be Newcastle? Well, potentially Newcastle Wolves. If you go to and watch the Premier League show, you'll know we've got 4 points riding on this one. I won't give the game away. 1 or 2 will probably put it in the comments anyway. But look, we all like Newcastle here, don't we, Jack? I mean, they're short price favourites, but they're absolutely flying. Any further angles in when it comes to the match at St James's?
A player that's really come to light in this purple patch for Newcastle. Isaac's getting all the headlines, of course, but Anthony Gordon's flown a little bit under the radar. I think the prices are reflective of Isaac and what his performances have been, but we possibly have a little bit of an angle in on Gordon that I noticed. He scored or assisted in each of his last 6 games, and one of those was a sub as well. And he's minus 103 against the leakiest defence in the league to either score or assist. You'll see it on the player specials market on Bet Rivers. And yeah, minus 103, 45 goals the Wolves have already conceded this season, and we do expect them to concede probably 2 or 3, and the market expects that given the prices. So it would be a bit of a shock if Anthony Gordon at this current rate of form wouldn't be involved either by assisting a goal or scoring one himself.
Yeah, we like goals in this one. Interesting that Bet Rivers have taken a near $1,000 play on under 3.5 total goals. It's one of those things where Newcastle, if they get sort of 2 up, they can close out games, can't they? Dave Clark says, who takes penalties for Newcastle? Is it not Isak? Who is it? I'd have to triple check that one. And
I thought it was Isak. I've got
Isak.
something in my head saying Fabian Schär, but I don't know if that's
Murphy assist going under the radar too. Wolves just signed a very good defender from Reims, apparently. And Byron says, lads, midweek matches, lots of tired legs, focusing on goals and shots. Tottenham over 9.5 shots, minus 110 is the best bet on the card. They've had no less than 13 against Arsenal in their last 8. That's an interesting one. We'll get to the North London derby in just a second. Adam says Lewis Hall, 6-1 to assist a goal. The lad, absolutely quality. Isak does take penalties. Yes, Jack, you've been on Lewis Hall before. He's done his that deflected one. I can't remember. Was that against United?
Against Manchester United. Yeah. Just brushed the knee, didn't it? I think it was Mazraoui that it just kissed his knee as it went past. And as far as Opta are concerned, that rules out any assist, unfortunately. So yeah, be careful with those and don't get too upset if you get a bit of a rough beat. That's the dangers and the perils of playing the props market. I always see people losing their mind over those things. At the end of the day, it's a guy sat there watching the game, controlling it for Opta. He's not. It's weird, but there we go. That's why we normally stick to the mainline markets, don't we? We're on money line, we're on Asian handicaps.
It can be very frustrating. Newcastle Wolves. Look, I think everyone knows. A lot of us are on Newcastle here. Minus a goal, minus 1.5. We're heavily on Newcastle. Jack says he's going to take Villa to win 2-0. I think Jake's a Villa fan as well, aren't you, Jake? Leicester Palace. Any angle in here? Palace minus money for the first time away from home this season. We mentioned that on the show. I quite fancy the draw in this one. We had 3 draws last night. I know the draws, to a certain extent, the stats say there's been more than there ever has been, but I still think we might get a couple tonight. Anything that takes your eye prop-wise or outside of the show-wise for Leicester Palace, Jack?
There is actually, there's a couple that I like. If you like trends, if you like someone that's in real good form and is consistently hitting shots on target, then Jefferson Lerma's your man for Crystal Palace. He's had at least 1 shot on target in each of his last 5 Premier League starts. But there's one I really like, and I've talked about him before as well. Daniil Munoz out on the right-hand side for Crystal Palace. He's a player that I've backed for shots on target, even for goals as well this season. Really consistent, and he plays more or less as a right midfielder with how Palace set up. So he's very advanced. Don't be put off by the fact he's basically classified as a right back. Over 0.5 shots on target for him tonight is plus 255, and I think that's a really big price. Plays in that advanced position, as I said, and I did some digging into the stats. Look, we know Leicester throw up lots and lots of chances. They allow lots and lots of shots. So we should see a fair spread across all the usual contenders for Palace. But these guys, the more abstract ones we could actually find. But you look at Leicester, they average 17.6 shots conceded per game. That's the third highest in the Premier League. Only a slight drop when they're playing at home as well, 16.6 shots. And that's still the third. Munoz is a kind of player that would normally get the full 90 as well. And I looked at the right-sided players over the last few games for the last 10 opponents for against Leicester. Bailey had 2 shots on target for Villa. Foden, Salah had 3. Not surprised, really. Guedes had 1 for Wolves. Murphy had 2 for Newcastle. Brighton didn't have any. Bowen had 3 for West Ham. Brentford didn't have any, and then Bomo was out there, which was a shock. Madueke had 2 for Chelsea, and Diallo had 1 for Manchester United. That's 8 of the last 10 opponents having at least 1 shot on target from a kind of right wing back, right midfield area. And he is one that can do the business. He's had 5 shots on target. Sorry, he's had at least 1 shot on target in 5 of his last 7 Premier League outings. So I think that's a really big price in a game where we expect goals and we expect shots.
Lovely. That is a real value play. Lovely analysis on that one. What else we got in the comments here? Just to rattle through 1 or 2. This is Brian, who says Newcastle money line, Isak to score, Murphy to score or assist. Both teams to score for 10-1. Janabi says yes, Isak is on pens. Chris says Nigel should only be allowed back if he shreds his joke. But yeah, there were some shocking ones. There are 1 or 2 that he told us, but they're a little bit they're a little bit after hours. We'd have to do a sort of late night show for that one. Mesley's goalkeeping coach. Get on Everton on the handicap plus a half. Count the money later. Says they will not be beat today. Brian says Palace first half on the money line. Jake says we've lost to some top sides talking about Villa, but against the bottom half, we're a tough side to beat on the road. Player Cam Palace over 1.5 goals all the way up. Spurs will score tonight. And Jamie Devaney says Everton new manager effect tonight. Well, he's the new old manager, isn't he? Really? And we've debunked it a little bit on the show, Jamie. We don't really think it's a thing. I know it's put out there an awful lot, but we're not convinced that it's a massive thing. Finally, more.
Was it right? David Moyes was the youngest manager in the Premier League when he was announced as Everton's manager first time round, and now he's the oldest this time round. So
that is a lovely stat. Has he now managed Everton in his 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s? Is that another stat? Something
I'll have to
incredible.
look at that.
Arsenal, Tottenham. Arsenal minus 305. Tottenham 7-1. 1 or 2 suggesting that Spurs might score here. Arsenal's defence ain't great, but Spurs' defence is still cut up, isn't it, with this one? But I noticed that yourself and Nigel on the Premier League show, Jack, you don't think there's going to be lots of goals. You think that goal line is quite high? I can't remember what your thoughts were on it. Have you got anything else to add from the North London derby for our watching public?
I'll be honest now, I think we covered it pretty extensively in the show. I've got a feeling that, it's going to be a relatively tight and cagey one. Nigel, I think, was on the same opinion. He's gone down a goals route. I've gone on the fact that I think Spurs have got a puncher's chance, plus 700. Again, I think they were plus 600. So the money for Arsenal, from what I can remember of the prices when we recorded the show, I think they've drifted around. I actually remember I had to cut, didn't I? Because I had my selection was... the price had gone too short, so I'd changed it. But I did look.
You changed the handicap line, yeah.
It's back available again now at a better price. But there we go. So I just feel that there's elements in it and what we've seen of Arsenal, and it's a North London derby, and it's a bit like what we talked about with the Liverpool Manchester United game a couple of weeks ago. Cliche time, the old form book goes out the window to a certain extent. Well, we've seen it really over the last few seasons with this game. There's some incredible results, but they are generally fairly tight. There's not too many times you can see where one or the other of the sides has absolutely battered the other. So we'll see what happens tonight. But Spurs have got a decent record we've seen this season when they're underdogs and they go in with a bit of pressure off them. It's when they expected to go and win is where they turn into proper Spursy.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that 0-0 score at the 90 against Tamworth, everybody, if you weren't watching the Premier League show, that was about 80-1, which we think is the biggest 0-0 score that's cashed all season. I don't know how many people have the 0-0. Very few, I would have thought. I mean, Joe Bamber says he's Tottenham worth plus 1.5 on the handicap. That's sort of Jack's sort of way in, Joe. So if you're following that line, Jack's Jack's basically suggesting that's not the worst. Dave says Spurs on the handicap. Arsenal got a lot of injuries, but so Spurs, David. David wants some corner advice. Well, Sam says Arsenal versus Tottenham over 4.5 corners half time. There you go, David. You can take Sim Pike's advice on that one. Brian says both teams score first half of Spurs game has hit 4 of the last 6. Keep on cashing in on it myself. Mesley's goalkeeping coach. I play Arsenal and both teams to score as a saver, but bet Spurs on the handicap. Spurs over 10.5 corners, reckons Marshy. And all the way up says I couldn't back Spurs for free. Bet no, neither could I. I think Arsenal win easy tonight. I'm going to the game. Shortly be working at it shortly. Tamworth's backable as big as 120 to 1, says Steve Wiss, which makes me think Steve had a little bit on that. Bet Pete's nodding on the nil now.
It's his money that moved it from 120 to 80.
He probably was. It was the big bets coming in. Yeah. That is the Premier League. So we've danced around 1 or 2 sort of prop bets from Jack. If you want a little bit more, then head to our Premier League show. I think Nigel put it in the chat previously. Are we doing Bundesliga? Jack, have you got any thoughts on some of the matches in Germany tonight? I mean, Bochum, that Steve always teases me, is my team. They're the favourites to beat some Pauli here. They are the favourites, incredibly. They've only won 1 game so far this season. I think it's a difficult. I know that St. Pauli are generally an unders team, but in their last 2 matches, they've registered more expected goals than the previous 6 combined. So I might play overs in that one. I mean, the overs has come in from plus 110 to plus 105. That'd be my Bochum St. Pauli bet. Go on the overs. Jack, anything when it comes to the Bundesliga action tonight?
It's like a mating call. If you mentioned XG, we should have Nigel on here any moment, I think, to be honest with you. Passes per defensive action, he'll be here instantly. But do you know what? That one's a conundrum that I avoided, to be perfectly honest. But I tell you what, I've looked ahead of it. Bochum are at home to RB Leipzig at the weekend, and I've liked a little bit of Leipzig at minus 120. Not been great away from home, but Xavi Simons back for them could be massive. And I think if they get a good result tonight, I think that price might well crumble. So I've taken a little piece of that ahead of the action.
Okay, Leipzig is an interesting one. 1 or 2 commenters talking about Xavi Simons, who is indeed back fit again. He's missed quite a lot of football, hasn't he? What else have we got? I did see something in the comments there regarding that one.
Draw assist plus 155. Sorry.
Score assist plus 155, and Leipzig draw no bet plus 190, says Byron. Union Berlin against Augsburg. I've not really got anything on that one, although Augsburg have lost their last 3. Union Berlin are bottom of the 6 and 8 match form tables. Union Berlin games have averaged 2.19. It looks like an unders game to me for that one. We had Dave talking about Bayern. They're the shortest price on the midweek slate against Hoffenheim. This is a 2:30 kickoff. That Bochum game, incidentally, is 12:30 stateside. Bayern, when they've been minus 500 or shorter, and they're minus 1115 at the minute, they have won every single time this season. They are 5 from 5, but only 3 of those to 0. So be aware of that. I think they've only managed, is it 1 clean sheet in the last 5? Hoffenheim aren't great scorers, and they've got injury issues. It's a difficult one, I think, for me, for Bayern. Anything else in any of the other games, Jack? Are you Bundesliga out?
I'll be honest. My touch on that was what you've now said not to do. Really, is to go both teams to score no.
All right.
The last couple, is minus 125. The last couple have been definitely not that for Bayern Munich, but 4 clean sheets in 7 across the season. But I just think that their Hoffenheim's attack is so limited. 4 goals in 7 away games that I think that Bayern might well control this one out. Don't put them together. If you put Munich with the both teams to score no, or even one of the goals to try and give it a boost, it actually lowers makes the price worse. So I am. That would be my hunch on that. They're the only 2 really. I like the Simons bet after Harry came back at the weekend, and then both teams to score no was just a throw in as well, given the 2 sides in action. Obviously, Harry Kane will be popular, first goal scorer. I think he's about plus 200, plus 300 just to be first goal scorer. But I say obviously on penalties, and they get a hell of a load of those. So if you could put it all together, Munich to win, Harry Kane to score first and from a penalty, then you might be able to get just about plus 300 or so. But
Well, one other thing I just looked at for that Leipzig game, actually, Nick Woltermader, just looking at some of the stats, German under-21 international signing from Werder Bremen in the summer, didn't get much of a go earlier this season, but he started the last 5 games and he's on penalties. He's plus 200 anytime goal scorer. Stuttgart, I mean, the overline there is over 3.5 at plus 108 or so, but Woltermader might be one to play if you're a Stuttgart supporter. Just to rattle through one or two of the comments, getting an awful lot of comments in. Reese says Leipzig look a great bet tonight on them against Bremen on Sunday, which was a good win. Frankfurt went to Stuttgart, big plus money, and took a 3-0 lead before a wobble at the end. Mohammed says, afternoon, gents, first time catching you live. You guys are superb. Best betting trio. Nigel will be with us shortly talking tennis. Dave says, buying odds are so high, I'm going to go for a parlay there. Yeah, probably sensible. Stuttgart going to struggle defending Openda, Simmons, and Shesko. Brian says the best books you read relating to betting. Are you a reader of betting books, Jack?
I don't have time for that.
He doesn't have time for that. I don't know. I think we'll have to maybe sort of book club out. Maybe that's the sort of thing. I mean, Nigel.
I think Nigel's got a recommendation a little bit further down, but
Nigel's got some great betting books. Don't worry about that. Joe says Leipzig on a double chance. Maybe Undav may not start first minute. He is a game changer. Yeah, Simmons anytime goal scorer and shot on target. I think people are looking out there. And we're going to speak to Nigel regarding tennis shortly. So stay with us. I know that plenty are joining us to talk Australian Open or to listen to Nigel's thoughts. We've got some updated outright prices after the games down under. But we have got a couple more football matches just to wrap up with. One in Italy and one in England. We go to Milan first of all. Inter versus Bologna. Inter 2 games in hand on leaders Napoli. This is one of them. They're 4 points adrift. Atalanta dropped points last night. I've bet Atalanta. I think most people know that. So I was disappointed with the draw against Juventus. But Juve, of course, are unbeaten this season. Bologna are 8th. They had a poor start to the season. Only 1 win of the first 11. They lost their manager, lost a lot of players. But only 1 defeat in their last 8 now. And Lewis Ferguson is back and he scored against Roma. I think on the Asian line, Bologna +1 at -103 might not be the worst bet. Inter, I think, are going to be without Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan as well. 10 goals and assists between them. Team used to be key for that one. Did you look at the Italian game, Jack, or you just got something in the Championship?
Yeah, Championship's my main area there. It's a tough one. You'd fancy Inter Milan, but you've made a very good case for some other options there. So I think I can't add any further value to it than that. Yeah, you're the man.
What do you like, Blackburn, Portsmouth?
It's both teams to score no for that one. Again, that's a bit of a stock in trade at the moment. But we've mentioned this sort of thing before where these two prices are very similar. Both teams to score no and under 2.5 goals. Both teams to score no is at -117. Under 2.5 goals is at -113. I'd take the -117 in this one due to the fact that Portsmouth have got a tendency. They can unravel a little bit away from home. Have Blackburn got the firepower to do that? I'm not quite so certain. John Eustace has done a stunning job at Blackburn. No one's tipped to really do very well this season at all. Those that are not familiar with the kind of lower tiers of English football, he was at Birmingham last season, had them in the top 6 before they wanted something a bit more showbiz, brought in Wayne Rooney and showbiz. Well, if League One is showbiz, you know, the Wrexham lads are there, obviously, then they've got what they wish because they got relegated as a result of that. But Eustace has come into Blackburn, done sensationally well. They can go 5th tonight with a win. This is their game in hand after this game got called off a few weeks ago. They have lost their last 2 at home, but those defeats were 1-0. So that's basically what they do. They normally win 1-0 or lose 1-0. And if they don't, it's a 0-0 draw. So it's been pretty prolific as far as that's concerned. Just some stats to fire out. Blackburn, 10 of the last 11 and 14 of the last 17 have gone under 2.5 goals. And 9 of those 11 have been both teams to score no. And it's 14 of 17 for them, both teams to score no, which is an incredible stat. In the league, only Burnley have seen fewer both teams score games than Blackburn's 8, and it's 3 of 13 at home that have gone out for both teams to score yes. So we're looking at 10 of their 13 home games have cashed for the bet we're talking about here. Both teams score no. Portsmouth are overs kings. They normally see lots of goals, which is why we're getting a really nice price on this, and it's who's going to hold the power. I think Blackburn's movement in the transfer market in January has told you all about what you need to know about them. They signed Adam Forshaw, who's a bit of a midfield grind battler in there, and they signed Dion Sanderson from Birmingham. He wants to go and work with Eustace again. He's a defender, so they've further strengthened that kind of area of the pitch. And so we're getting a price because of that result. But their last 4 have seen both teams score no. and there's 7 of the last 9, with 6 of those have gone over 2.5 goals. So you see it's a one-way street with Portsmouth. Hence why I've gone with the both teams to score no side of it rather than the unders. No clean sheet away from home from this season, so you'd expect Blackburn to get on the score sheet, but Pompey have failed to score in 5 of their last 8 road trips. So for me, this looks like a 1-0, 2-0 to Blackburn, but both teams to score no at -117. I think is a really nice price.
Good stuff. Jack's going to stay with us, and we're going to recap his best sort of prop bets and best other bets from the Premier League that we didn't have in our Premier League show shortly. We are going to take a very short break, but everybody stay with us because Nigel's going to be talking tennis. We're going to get a recap of all the latest Aussie Open futures prices, and we're also going to quiz Nigel on maybe some of the best bets that he's got for us tonight outside of the Game Bat and Match podcast and tennis show that I think he's just recorded from Sean. So we're going to be back in around about 30 seconds, fingers crossed, depending on how we get around moving all the graphics. Be right back. We are back. Hello, everybody. Hello, Nigel. I'm just unmuting people because I didn't want anyone to speak out of turn. Nigel, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I thought it was going to come on about 5 minutes before Jack went into overload about the championship match there.
Yeah.
I thought, hang on a minute.
Come on, Nigel. How long have you done these shows? How long have you done these shows?
Australian Open. It started about 8 hours. I thought, oh my God, the breakdown of the match there, Blackburn. It went on for a bit, didn't it?
Oh, good job we're not in a greenhouse with you throwing these stones around.
Listen, it was quality as per usual from Jack. Look, we're going to keep Jack with us because we're going to recap the football before we go. We might even get a soccer play from Nigel as well. But we are here. We are here to talk tennis. What did you make overnight? I watched a bit of that Jack Draper game earlier today. I mean, crikey, looked dead and buried against Kokkinakis, who kept getting treatment for a bad shoulder. I remember you were talking about him on one of the tennis shows. But incredible. I don't know what sort of price that he traded. Maybe 8-9 to 1 or something, Draper, before he came through. Well, I mean, unbelievable tennis performance. Or is that what he does?
No, he doesn't really do it. He's usually the one who gets injured and struggles himself. I mean, both of those players have had problems with fitness. They're both big lags. The only good thing for them is the weather conditions in Melbourne aren't as hot as they have been in previous years, because that would have been a real grind. And I don't think either player would, or one of the players would have completed. And that's what you got tomorrow. Just finished a podcast with Sean a bit earlier. We'll be dropping immediately after this show. Sean's got some 4 picks. Sean was in great form last night. He gave 2 official plays and some leans and everything cashed. I think we gave 6 bets and leans on the podcast, and all of them won. And that was on the back of a really bad first round. So I think we probably got the money back that we lost on round 1. But yeah, it's good. It's some good angles here. But I think the most important angle to remember the tennis this week is that the weather is cool. I mean, tomorrow's going to be 20 degrees in Australia, and a bit of rain around 19, 18, 20 degrees. And it's usually about 35. That's a real cool. So temperature is going to drop. So that might have a difference in the way a lot of these matches are going to be played here. So that is definitely one thing to look at. As far as players that have impressed me on the outright market, I've been very, very impressed with Alexander Zverev in the bottom half of the draw. I think he's a big mover, gone from 12 to 1 down to 7 to 1 with Bet Rivers. Sinner is the worthy favourite, but obviously the talking one is Joao Fonseca, the young Brazilian, who I really thought was a bit of a false price in his first round match against Andre Rublev. I was completely wrong. He was absolutely sensational. At 25 to 1, can he win this tournament? Certainly not. But look ahead to the US Open. 8 months from now, 18 years of age, he's going to improve greatly. By the time the US Open comes, a lot of these older players will be hobbling around in all kinds of injury problems, and he's about 3 times the price he is to win the US Open than he is to win the Australian Open. And I think it's probably a little bit too early. But in August, he's going to be one for me. Artur Fils was my pick on the newsletter. If you got the newsletter or subscribed to the newsletter, it was a 300 to 1 pre-tournament pick. He's now 100 to 1. But I think really, I mean, the big mover for me is Zverev. I thought Zverev was excellent. Novak Djokovic, not impressed with at all. Medvedev, not impressed with at all. And I think, they're going to, Zverev is the big one I've take out for.
Incidentally, just one or two bits of information regarding the overnight action from our friends at Bet Rivers here. We had a $15,000 play minus 1.5 set handicap. Tomljanovic, have I got that right? Nigel against Schneider. That was a loser. So that's a 15,000 heavy loss. But some Bet Rivers heavy hitters did come good. On Tommy Paul, 9,000 play on set 1. Game 10 live on the money line, short price. Also, Mensick plus 2.5 on the game handicap against Kasparov, which was a winner. Jack Draper as well, minus 3.5 game handicap, minus 119. So some decent bets that were cashed when it came to the action overnight. We've looked at the men's outright, the latest futures. Do you want to talk us through the matches for the men's, and then we'll do the women shortly? What have we got coming our way overnight, Nigel? Obviously, I know you've just taken a look at some of these games, I presume, with Sean, so you don't have to tell us what you picked on the main show, but if you've got anything else for us, give us a line in with this lot.
Well, 3 of these matches we haven't got to play on. We have got to play on Berrettini Rune. So I'll talk about the 3 matches. There's 4 matches that we go through and 4 matches. These are my links. Obviously, Sean is the main man of the tennis. He's the guy who gives the picks, but I've got a fairly decent opinion. Shapovalov against Musetti. I'm shocked that Musetti isn't the favourite for this match. I can't believe he's not the favourite. As I said, the conditions are going to be quite a lot slower, which will suit Musetti. Even if they're quick, it wouldn't bother Musetti. Musetti got to the semi-finals of Wimbledon last year. It was 37 wins and 28 losses last year in 2024, compared to Shapovalov, who's 26 wins and 24 losses. I think that Musetti is a slightly better player on all surfaces. Shapovalov is erratic. And judging by the first round performance, I thought Musetti was really, really good against his fellow Italian Arnaldi. Very, very difficult when you play someone from your home nation. I think it's very hard. Both played Davis Cup, both played internationally, grew up together, so it's a very hard for you. But I think Musetti deserves to be favourite in that one. I wouldn't be betting it, but I think if you're going to have a bet on the match, I think Musetti is perhaps a little bit of a lean. The Fonseca match is the interesting one here. I mean, he's minus 625 against plus 450 Lorenzo Sonego. Now, he's an 18-year-old kid. He's a superstar. He's going to be the top echelons in the world. But my strategy in tennis betting always has been and always will be, when you have a big win, fade them the next round. Now, prior to that win, say this was a first round match, I reckon Fonseca would have been minus 250. He's burst on the scene. He's now minus 625. He's got a lot of pressure. He's got a lot of pressure to be able to deliver. I'm not saying this boy is different class. He's, don't get me wrong, but he opened up at minus $3. He's been bet down to minus 625. That is a huge, huge move for a kid that's only ever played one 5-set match in his whole life, and that was the last time. It's a long thing to go the distance. He's but we said this about Luke Littler in the darts world. It's a very, very different. But he is an exceptional talent. He's definitely going to be a future number 1 in the world. He's going to be a major winner. But I just think the market is very, very strong here. I mean, have you got the graphic back up there? Because I mean, the handicap here is about 6.5. I mean, that's a lot at 6.5 for an 18-year-old. I mean, I'm not saying he won't win it. I think he probably will edge it. But on the handicap, Sonego is a real, he's a proven player. He's been around the top 50 for years. Done well in majors before. I think that's a real, really big move. I also quite like the over there as well. Not betting it myself personally, but I think that is a huge, huge reaction. And in the other one, I really want to fade Medvedev. Medvedev was awful in his first round match. I mean, really, really, really awful. So lucky to get through. He dropped the set against an opponent that he should never have dropped the set. That was his first match of the year. And he's playing a player in Lerner Tien, who is a US player, 19 years of age, come through qualification here, didn't drop a set, come through a 5-set match, which I suppose when you look at 5-set matches, the market wants to oppose you in 5-set matches. But the weather hasn't been hot, so it's not really that much fatigue on you. And honestly, Medvedev was diabolical in his first round. And again, I think Tien might give him a problem here on the game handicap. He lost against a set against. Well, he has 2 sets. He was 2 sets to 1 of that down. He won in 5 sets in the end. He was He was 100 to 1 on favourite against Samrij in the first round. The Thai player, he's not even in the top 500. I think it's 400. Actually, he's about 420 in the world rankings. But he lost 2 sets to Medvedev. Medvedev's not playing well. Tien is another good player coming through. There's a lot of youngsters coming through. And I think that on the money line, he's a big price, but it's definitely on the handicap. You may be able to get him plus 1.5 sets, take a couple of sets of him, plus 2.5 sets, or on the game's handicap. But there are a couple of dogs there that you want to repose, I think.
Rich is just saying, what weapons does Tien have to trouble Medvedev, or is it just the fact that Medvedev is the player?
I don't think he does anything spectacularly good. Yeah. I mean, but Medvedev is not at it. He's just had a child. He's come here cold, and he didn't look match ready in that first round. I know he's been a beaten finalist here in the Australian Open, but out of all the seeds, he's the one seed that the market has just reacted to. I mean, he went out to 20-1 to win the tournament with some books straight after his first round match, and to drop 2 sets against a player and just inside the top 500 of the world isn't major winning performance. So I think that Tien has got a chance, but I think the better way to play when the finishing line comes up and you've got Medvedev at the end and the other end of the court, you suddenly freeze if you're a young player. So on the game's handicap, I'm betting Tien as well.
Okay, good stuff. Let's have a look at the women's futures. The outrights look like this. Sabalenka plus 160. Coco Gauff plus 400. Did she have a little bit of a scare earlier against the Brit, or am I over-egging that just because it caught my eye because it was a British player? She
played quite well in the second set. She come through. She didn't really have too much of a scare, but she didn't play particularly well. And Sabalenka didn't play very well at all. And Sabalenka has a real tough match in her next round against Clara Towson, a player who's unbeaten this year. A player that I'm very, very keen on. I've spoken about her many times, but every time I come on this show, I'm very heavily on Elena Rybakina in the bottom half of the draw. I think she was 9-1 yesterday with Bet Rivers. I highlighted it again yesterday. I think 7-1 is a big price. 9-1 was the price yesterday. It was being bet again to 7. I think her draw in her quarter is so easy. Her and Swiatek have got the ease of the draw. There's a lot of players in the top half of the draw. I think you can get Sabalenka beat at this tournament. I haven't been impressed with her. I think Towson will give her all kinds of problems tomorrow. That's not, we're Eastern time, so that will be not the hours of tomorrow. It'll be the following day for the UK, but tomorrow if you're in America. But I'm all in on Rybakina. I think she's just the best server in the world. I need the weather to be a little bit hotter, and I need I need it to turn. But next week it's going to be in the 30s, so not far off 100 degrees, and that will be Rybakina weather.
One or two comments here. Ming says, were you shocked that Andreeva nearly got knocked out? And Nish says, I'm out on the WTA. Radu shocked everyone and expected more upsets, says Nish. And Andreeva, shocked that she struggled a little bit or not?
She's another player that she's a young teenage player that everyone expects to be on the big challenge in the world #1 and win majors. And I think a lot of these players have huge amount of pressure on their shoulders that they can't deliver every time. She's a future major champion, but it might be a little bit too early in her career because the pressure is on this as a lot, like Fonseca, and that's my worries. I think Fonseca, these people, especially the men, over 5 sets, it's very hard to beat a Sinner, Djokovic, like Alcaraz, all those kind of guys over best of 5. It's very hard for the youngsters.
We've looked at the women's futures. We've also obviously got the matches as well. Nigel, I don't know if you've dealt with this with Rory yet on Game Better Match. Just give us your thoughts that you can do on the live show when it comes to these games that we've got on screen.
Well, we haven't done it because we only do one show a week, and the next show with Rory's on Monday, so we haven't covered it. The only time we're covering here is on this show. On Jabeur plays Camila Osorio. Osorio's 2-1. I gave Osorio as a lively outsider in their last match, but plus 175. She won that match, but she's got to overcome a very, very heavy head-to-head here, where Jabeur has a huge head-to-head advantage over her. I think it's 4-0 to Jabeur. But there was a couple of matches last year where Jabeur was coming back from injury, but prior to that, she played in the US Open in 2021, and Jabeur won 6-love, 6-1. This is a tougher match than that. Again, I'm not expecting Osorio to win it, but I do think on the game handicap with Bet Rivers, she could cause Jabeur problems. Because Osorio, as I said before, I've been very fortunate to go to a lot of tennis events all around the world, and Osorio has some of the most fanatical fans. She's Colombian. She's Colombian fans who are crazy, and they will make it a raucous atmosphere for them. And she gets a little bit of something going on that. Navarro come through an epic match in her last round against Peyton Stearns. It was 3 hours 30 minutes. It was a slugfest, and she's up against a tough opponent in Wang. I wanted to fade Navarro at the start of the tournament. I think she's a player that overperformed last year, and she got a lot of ranking points to defend this time around. And I think Wang's got a chance here at 2-1. I again like her on the handicap. I think Navarro is a vulnerable favourite at -265. It was a long match against Stearns. It was a long rally. It was over 3 hours 20 minutes, and that is a brutal match. Navarro's a New Yorker. She's gritty. She's hard. She's determined. She's got fight in her. But at the end of the day, that's going to take her toll. So I think Wang has got a little bit of a chance there.
What about Raducanu? Wanted to ask, is she back in form? Should we be betting the Brit?
No, she's not back in form. She was so fortunate to win her last round match. I mean, Alexandrova was +130. I tipped her at +130. She got bet down to +110, and she was lucky. She was very lucky that neither player could hold their serve. Lots of break points, but Raducanu served 15 double faults in that match. 15 double faults. Now, Anisimova is one of the hardest hitters on the women's tour. She's had a lot of injuries, but she's fit. She started the season well, and I think she can out-hit Raducanu here. I think the slower court conditions today will probably suit Anisimova more than Raducanu. Raducanu will want it quicker, but I think Raducanu's had a day in this tournament, and I expect Anisimova to win this. But -143. I mean, when these lines opened up, it was -110. So at -143, I wouldn't bet. And Avea, the girl against Collins in the final match, Daniil Collins is another player that I want to fade this tournament. She was very, very lucky in her first round match. She struggled. She come through in straight sets, but it was a real long struggle. And Aveva is a young Australian girl. She's just ranked in the top 200 in the world. She has a huge amount of fans behind her. She's come through qualification. She's had some big wins in qualification. She's had a big win there. And again, I think the best thing to do, the favourites in these tournaments have such a high percentage chance of winning, and they always seem to do well. And I think when you look at them and you think to yourself, I want to take a favourite on, I think you're much better to get them with the game start rather than bet them on the money line, because there's so many times where they go, especially in women's tennis, they exchange breaks, you get a nice position, and then suddenly mentally they realise, oh, hang on a minute, I'm going to win. I'm going to get 200 grand here. I'm going to be into the last 32 of a major, and I'm going to beat a seed. And suddenly they can't get over the finishing line. So that's a real big problem, because you're betting a lot of these on the unknowns. This is the only time they come around. So on the games handicap, where you look at a favourite that's vulnerable, Medvedev, Collins, you look at Navarro, I think is vulnerable, and again with Jabeur, I think if you play them all at big handicaps, I think that's the way you want to play these matches tonight.
Okay, good stuff. We've got one or two details regarding where the money's going for the football, so we're going to wrap up with that. We're going to get Jack's best bets.
Can I just say something on the football before we go? I don't know. My brother's well into. He's well in at Crystal Palace. He gets all the information.
Yeah,
it's come in the news, but he reckons half of the Palace side are out this neurovirus tonight, including he reckons the goalkeeper might not play. So, bit of interest there.
I'll tell you, if they don't play with the goalkeeper, they're banging trouble. I know.
Well, I've got my gloves ready. I've got my gloves ready.
This we've had just on the wages. I'll bring Jack back in here because I've just got some info from our colleagues at Belarus and Troy. Atleti Madrid on the money line, or Elche in the Copa. Is that a game that you wanted to look at, or you thought about looking at, which is a $1,000 play in Atleti? -156 seems fairly generous for the side that's top of La Liga, Jack.
They were -120 this morning.
Don't get emotional about it.
Sean Dyche.
He's going to be emotional about it all. It's all right. It's only Athletic.
Yeah, well, man, it's good. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Yeah. So nothing else to do tonight. I'm not at Goodison Park, so we're talking about this.
Atleti. Are we betting Atleti in the Coppa?
Not at that price. I don't think not at that price. Not for me. But at -120, I'm happy holding that ticket. Well,
okay,
you can
right.
bit of Asian handicap stuff.
We've had some plays on Tottenham +1.5 on the Asian line at $800, nearly $1,000. A lot of people opposing Arsenal. Quickly on the Premier League games, and I'm going to get very quick fire thoughts, and they have to be quick from the boys here. Everton versus Aston Villa on the money line, 84% the money, 88% of the tickets on Villa. Villa's the one that's been bet. Are we backing Villa away at Everton, Nigel?
They've got a good record there. I won't tell you who's number one because I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to go for the draw. As you said the other day, the draw was the the amount of draws cashing. Go for a draw in that one.
Okay, most of the money on Newcastle Wolves has come on Newcastle. We've talked about Newcastle. We like that one. Leicester Palace. What we're saying here, 78% of the money, 52% of the tickets on Palace, and most of the money on overs. Jack, are we saying now with that new bit of info from Nigel's brother, should we go with Leicester here?
Well, certainly not going to doubt that information. And when that turns out to be true, then clearly Leicester is the play at this moment in time.
Indeed,
once we find out who those players are, especially the goalkeeper.
Most of the money's come for Arsenal. Most of the money for overs. Nigel, quick thoughts on North London derby?
I'm swimming against that tide.
Against
that tide. We're swimming against
the tide. The last time he did that, he was halfway to the Red Sea. He had to get pulled back by Iraqi Coast Guard. I think that was a few years ago.
That was a painful 24 hours. I can imagine. Awful.
So you're both on unders, aren't you, when it comes to the North London derby? That's the.
I think the 3.5 price now is getting quite tempting. It's almost like minus 125. 3.5. I've got to get involved there.
Yeah. All right. Unders is the play. Just to let you know, most of the money has come on Inter tonight in their game against Bologna in the Bundesliga. There's been money for St. Pauli away at Bochum. Also Werder Bremen at home to Heidenheim, who have lost 7 of the last 8 Bundesliga games. Also money for Union Berlin against Augsburg. And Bayern against Hoffenheim, as you would imagine. Bayern being very, very popular. We had a decent bet on a random sort of Bayern parlay. Here we go. Harry Kane to score and Bayern Munich to score 4 or more goals plus 150. Betting that one, Nigel?
You know I love my same game parlays. I'm all over it. All over it.
Fantastic stuff. A lot of money for Bayern, as you would imagine. Most of the money on Leipzig as well. Incidentally, and Leipzig has won 8 of its last 10 Bundesliga matches against Stuttgart. Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals hitting each of Leipzig's last 9 Bundesliga matches as an underdog. They're away at Stuttgart tonight. So that's where the money's been going. Just a reminder, some house specials for you before we get the best bets from the boys. House specials from Bet Reviews. You've got an account, use it, because a lot of the time, the best price in the village. Barca and Atletico to each score 3 or more goals and win, plus 6.15. Both in the Copper tonight. Arsenal to win half-time, full-time. Both teams to score plus 265. Arsenal, Newcastle, Palace all to win at plus 264. Arsenal to record 4 first-half shots on target, plus 200. That might, Jack, depend on whether Kai Havertz is playing or not.
Yeah, jeez, no, for the rest of the season.
Mateta or Jamie Vardy to score the first goal, plus 170. That's another special. Yeah, the Harry Kane bet, is a special as well. That's Harry Kane to score. Bayern Munich to record 4 or more goals, plus 150. Right, best bets before we wrap up. Nigel, best bet in the tennis for you over the course of the next, what we're talking here, 18 hours, 24 hours or so, something like that. Tonight's overnight action as far as we're concerned.
I'm going to go for Tien plus 6.5 games against Medvedev at even money.
There we go. Best bet in the football, Nigel? You got a best bet in the football? Or you're just diverting everyone to our Premier League show for your 2-unit play?
It's all on there. It's all on the show.
It is all on there. A bit like the number ones. You might have forgotten it by now. Jack,
it's been a long day.
What's your best bet? What's your best bet on the football? Give us a prop and give us a regular one.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, the prop, I'd go for Anthony Gordon. I like the hot dog version of having Munoz, but obviously depending on his team news and his virus that he might have, if he's one of them. That'll do. I can't think of anything else.
I thought we were going to go in the championship again.
Championship.
No, that's it. That's it. Well enough. That's enough.
Both teams to score no in the Blackburn game, in the championship game, and Anthony Gordon to score or assist at shade minus money, was it? Or shade plus money?
Minus 106.
Minus 106. So even money thereabouts.
Yeah.
That is your lot for tonight. What else have we got here? Jan Phillips says Almeria to win, talking about the Spanish Cup. Nisha's taking goal scorers Madison, Isak, and Starga to score. Jan says in the Copa del Rey. Brian says Jamal, Kane, and Isak all to score tonight. Can't argue with any of those. Plus 533.
That looks good, doesn't it?
That is a tempter.
That's good.
Now then, obviously we've run fairly long. Many thanks to everyone who's tuned in. But just one final word to Nigel and Jack. Now, we're recording the Premier League show tomorrow, boys. So
you might as well just stay on.
Just for once, can I have your selections in a little earlier? Is that all right, Nigel?
Busy night tonight. Tennis up in the morning. Before you go, you didn't even read my comment. Someone asked for a recommendation of a good book.
What was it?
Yeah, it's on the screen. The betting blueprint by Simon. It's a great source.
The thing is, that's a real book, isn't it, Nigel?
I know
Is
it
that-
is.
That's
Amazon bestseller is in the Holden household.
Adam says Newcastle to win 2-0 is the nap. Plus 170, 203-0. Yeah, we like that one on the show as well. Jack, Nigel, many thanks for your company. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in this afternoon. A bit of a bumper edition because we've got Nigel on. Premier League show tomorrow, European show going to be recorded as well. And who is on the live show tomorrow? It'll be Steve. Nigel, you back?
No,
tomorrow?
I'm not. I don't know who it is. I think it's Lewis. Is Lewis back tomorrow? I think it's Lewis tomorrow, and Sean Calvert. He's very happy to be making his appearance on Friday.
So is it another? Is it another threesome tomorrow? Is that what we're talking about?
Depends how I feel. Depends what I've got on. Thursday's a busy day. We'll see how we go. I might jump on.
Thanks to everybody for watching. Good luck with your bets tonight. Obviously, keep us updated via Twitter. Get in the comments as well. Much more content to come over the course of the week. That's your lot for today. Thanks for watching.